Kabir grew up in a house where the only thing louder than a hange was the silence of his father's disappointment. Kabir wanted to be an architect, in a village where most men broke stones for a living. Dreaming of designing skyscrapers was seen as a mental illness. Look at your hands, Kabir, his father would say, boy stick with a weary bitterness. These hands are for grip, not for drawing lines that don't exist. At 19, Kabir moved to the city with nothing but a tattered sketchbook and a heart that felt far too big for his chest. He worked 3 jobs, cleaning tables at dawn, delivering mail at noon, and guarding a construction site at night. He lived on the end stale bread, but his eyes were always fixed on the blueprints the engineers left behind. The breaking point one rainy Tuesday, Kabir lost everything, as if stole his bed containing his meager savings and, more importantly, his final portfolio 6 years of self-taught architecture el meste. Ese tanaket in the pouring rain, Sabin, for the first time, se confidence head worn like Armecrec. He felt like a fraud. He called his mother from a public booth, ready to say, I'm coming home. You were right. But when she picked up, she didn't let him speak. Kabir, she whispered, her voice trembling with pride, is a tall building on Senusta Day. He told the neighbors my son is going to build one even taller. Don't come back until you do. I am holding my breath for you. He hung up the phone. The rain was still cold, but his blood was boiling. The rise Kabir didn't go home. He went back to the construction site. He didn't just guard it. He began pointing out a structural flaw in the foundation to the foreman. He was left at, what does a watchman know about physics? D-Mac. He know that the earth here is soft, Kabir said, his voice ringing with a sudden, terrifying confidence. And he know that if you don't calculate the load bearing capacity of the clay lay, this masterpiece will lean 3 inches by winter. They pulled out a scrap-up cement bag and drew the calculation perfectly. He wasn't guessing. I had spent 5 years studying the math in the dark. The victory 10 years later, the city skyline changed. A new town stood at the center glass, still and soul. On the day of its inauguration, Kabir stood at the podium. He wasn't wearing a cheap uniform anymore. He was the chief architect. He looked out at the crowd, but his eyes found 2 people in the front row. His father, WHO, was weeping openly, and his mother, WHO, finally let out that breath she had been holding. Kabir leaned into the microphone. He didn't talk about success. He talked about the rain. Confidence isn't the absence of fear, he said, his voice steady and powerful. It is the decision that your dream is more important than your circumstances. If they don't give you a seat at the table, build your own house.